Hello there, and welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today we will be bringing you the storyline of an action crime thriller movie titled The Commando. The movie focuses on James Baker, the leader of the anti-drug squad, who decides to take a leave of absence from duty after experiencing a traumatizing event. He intends to spend time with his family, but all that changes when a dangerous criminal tries to break into his house to retrieve his loot from the past. So, sit back, prepare some snacks, and without further ado, let's get into the video. At the beginning of the movie, we are shown the anti-narcotics squad, DEA, who will storm the headquarters of a drug-making kingpin. The squad is led by a man named James Baker. James and his team quietly go inside, then attack the mobsters. Until finally, James comes face to face with the mob boss. At first, the mob boss seemed to surrender, but when James approached him, he attacked James instead, until the confrontation ensued. When James was about to kill him, his partner forbade it because their superiors told him to capture the kingpin alive. Then James approaches a warehouse door that looks suspicious, and when he opens it, he sees 3 hostages who have died as a result of the shots that James launched during the battle with the kingpin. Seeing that, James is of course shocked because he accidentally killed 3 innocent people. A few days later, James, who was still traumatized by the incident, decided to take a leave of absence and return to his hometown. When he arrived home, he was immediately greeted by his wife and 2 daughters. When it came to dinner, James still remembered how he accidentally shot 3 hostages earlier, and he felt so guilty that even that mistake continued to haunt him. His wife, who saw that, tried to calm him down and gave him advice to treat him to a psychiatrist. The scene moves inside the prison. We are shown a prisoner named Johnny, who is seen sitting relaxed, until suddenly he is approached by 3 other inmates who do not like him. However, Johnny easily paralyzes them. It is known that Johnny was imprisoned for the bank robbery he committed 15 years ago, and now is the day he has been waiting for. Shortly after that, the head of the prison called him, giving him a letter of freedom. However, before signing his freedom letter, the head of the prison reminded Johnny that he could live better after getting out of prison. Then, Johnny was immediately picked up by his 2 men. While on the way, Johnny asked his men to drive him to a secluded house, which turned out to be James's house. Here, Johnny revealed that the money they robbed 15 years ago was stored in this house, because this house used to be uninhabited. In the evening, Johnny and his 2 men went to another one of his men, who now built a car repair shop. Then Johnny ordered the 3 of them to investigate who owned the house. Johnny's 3 men immediately approached the house to find out who the owner was. They carefully targeted the window to get into the house, but their plan failed because James suddenly woke up and shot them with a gun. However, in reality, James was just delirious and he only shot at an empty target. Hearing the sound of gunfire, his wife then got up and took his gun, while Johnny's henchmen fled after hearing the shot. After returning to the car, they finally realized that the owner of the house was James Baker, a member of the DEA force, which would certainly make it difficult for them to retrieve the loot. In the morning, James invited his best friend, Sebastian, to drink at his house. James here tells Sebastian about the trauma he experienced. Sebastian also provides a solution for James to immediately see a psychiatrist who is quite famous, but the location is far outside the city. The scene moves to Johnny, who is contacted by his men. Johnny gets the identity of the owner of the house named James, a DEA member. Hearing this, Johnny asked his men to continue to monitor James, while he himself would think of other ways. In the afternoon, John went to the corrupt sheriff in the city. He asked the sheriff for help to arrest James for just 1 day, because he would enter James's house to take all the money he had robbed first. John also promised to give 10% of all the money if the sheriff was willing to help him. The sheriff, without hesitation, agreed. The next day, James was seen consulting with a psychiatrist recommended by Sebastian via video call. The doctor said that it was better to come directly to her place. Shortly after that, suddenly, the sheriff's men came to take James to his office. Arriving there, the sheriff handed James a fake detention letter, as if it was ordered by his superiors. However, James, who was not an arbitrary person, clearly refused, because in the letter there was no signature of the Minister of Defense. Here, James told the sheriff not to misbehave with him. After returning from the police station, James immediately got ready with his wife because they were going out of town to visit the psychiatrist recommended by Sebastian. Seeing James leave, although not according to plan, John's men were very happy because now they could carry out the action. However, when they were about to start the action in the evening, it turned out that at home there was still James's youngest daughter, April, who was also having a party with her friends. This made John's 3 men have to wait until the party was over. In the house, James's eldest daughter, Natalie, seemed to dislike the party held by her sister because the music was so loud that Natalie could not rest. Natalia, who was upset, accidentally dropped her bedroom lamp. When she was about to clean up the broken lamp, Natalie suddenly found money under her floor. Natalie, who panicked at that moment, immediately contacted Sebastian to tell him this. When Sebastian arrived in Natalie's room, he asked Natalie to keep the money back and immediately contacted her father. Meanwhile, outside the house, John's 3 men, who were annoyed because the party was not over, decided to enter at this time. They started by killing one by one April's friends who were outside. Then they immediately entered and continued shooting people at the party, even taking Sebastian and April hostage. Natalie, who found out about it, immediately hid under the bed and tried to tell her father, but unfortunately at that time James could not be contacted, and then Natalie only left a voice message to James before Natalie was also caught. After successfully taking control of James's house, the 3 of them immediately split up to find the robbery money. On the other hand, James finally heard the voice message from Natalie. He immediately turned the car around and returned home. In the house, Sebastian, who was being held hostage, managed to release the rope that tied his hands, then killed one of John's men. But after that, Sebastian was successfully paralyzed again by Johnny's men named Max. Then Max contacted John to tell him that now they had found all the money, but he lost one of his men. Hearing that his men were killed, John became angry and invited all his members to come to James's house. Once there, Johnny immediately killed Sebastian very brutally. Then John took Sebastian's cell phone and then contacted James. Here he even challenged James, which made James very angry. Although now John has recovered all the money, he decided to wait for James, and intends to kill James and his family, so that there are no witnesses to their crimes. Soon James arrived in front of the house. James asked his wife to wait in the car while he would take care of this. James immediately finished off one by one John's men. Then James went inside and found April, who was being held hostage. James immediately calmed April and told her to immediately get into the car with her mother. Max, who learned of James's arrival, immediately attacked him, but James, who was a trained man, easily defeated Max. On the other hand, the corrupt sheriff also received a call from John, asking him to immediately come to James's house to help him. Back at James's house, one of John's henchmen, who saw all his colleagues below had been killed, intended to tell John about it, but suddenly James appeared from behind and immediately finished him off. Upstairs, John and 2 of his henchmen were seen holding Natalie. John, who realized that James was already downstairs, immediately ordered one of his men to fight James. And stupidly, Johnny's henchman challenged James to a hand-to-hand duel, which James easily defeated. After that, James went upstairs. He found Natalie, who was being held hostage by Johnny's remaining henchmen. However, James quickly put up a fight. Then James told Natalie to get into the car with her sister and mother. James then yelled for Johnny because now it was just the 2 of them. But James knew that John would ambush him, so he used the corpses of Johnny's men to trick him, and then when James was about to shoot him, he felt unfair. He threw away his gun and challenged him to a duel. When James is about to finish Johnny, suddenly the sheriff comes and points a gun at him. Here John orders the sheriff to immediately shoot James, and he will increase his wages to 20%. James cleverly said that if the sheriff finishes him, then he will only get a share of 20 pieces. Different if the sheriff shoots John, then he will divide the money equally. Plus the sheriff will definitely be promoted because he has eradicated the robber who broke into the house of DEA members. Immediately the sheriff shot John, but suddenly, soon the police and ambulance arrived to evacuate the victims who were in James's house, and the movie ended. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like button and support our channel by subscribing. so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.